as we can see from the title of the video, it's about how to reinvent yourself. Okay, so we must realize it is, what is it? It's December 31st. So it is essentially the last day of the year. And if we go into the next year, for the next 12 months, as the same individual we are right now, nothing's going to change. We're going to go in with the same habits, same mindset. Consequence of that, you're going to have essentially the same life. So right now, what we're going to be doing is talking through the process of reinvention, how we can actually reinvent ourselves, processes you can go through, process of things like habit swapping, which I personally came up with itself, because we need to properly invent ourselves, boys. 2026, we got to be coming in absolutely fucking heavy, no holes barred. We're here to make money. We're here to make fucking gains. So let's have it. Shit, choking on spit. So I want to go over something, and it's why reinvention matters. So we must realise that reinvention isn't about pretending to be someone else. Isn't about brutally. It's about brutally admitting the current version of ourselves has in fact got limits, and we have to realise that the current version of ourselves has gotten us to where we are now and fulfilled the goals that we supposedly have set out already. If your discipline isn't where it should be, your finances aren't where you want them to be, or your relationships are nowhere near where they should be, then we've got to realise that today is the moment. We can actually draw that line, because if we don't reinvent ourselves, life will in fact life has a funny way of reinventing us off its own accord. So we've got to take the initiative and do it ourselves. So I just want to make this clear: this is not a load of hype or a load of woo woo. It's about us having responsibility and actually being men and taking self accountability for what we need to do to level up and be the one people can rely on. Right, this is the most important part, which I call the ruthless self analysis. Okay, but before we go on there, I'm going to make you aware of this quote that I find quite powerful by Eric Thomas. So if you're not where you want to be, do not quit. Instead, reinvent yourself and you'll change your habits. Okay. So as I said, reinvention of yourself, the process of getting from A to B, becoming the man you need to become. So if we go over here, as I said, this next section is about ruthless, absolute ruthless analysis. Analysis of where we are now and where it is we want to be. Well, let me just zoom out here. There we go. There we are. Right. Before any changes, we need to have clarity, a bit of mental clarity. We need to use these things God gave us, which is called a brain. We need to use it, guys, okay? And we need to take a moment and ask ourselves, okay, where am I right now? So where is Kwasi right now, okay? What habits are possibly destroying my growth? What behaviours are something holding me back? And what version of myself would I be embarrassed to see next year? So, for example, me having a bit of analysis of what's going on at the moment. This is not me, but I'm giving an example. A little degenerate here. He's having self-analysis. What he does now is he does a lot of sleeping in. He doesn't work out. He eats a lot of junk food. Okay, constantly binging on shit food all the time. He's slow. He's lazy. Doesn't go to the gym. Doesn't work out. Doesn't do absolutely fucking anything. Now, you need to be absolutely brutally honest when you actually do this process of reinvention. Okay, you need to not lie to yourself. Sugarcoating. You need to get real. All right. Now, once we've analysed where it is we are, we then need to take a big leap and step over the other side of the fence and ask ourselves who it is we want to become. What does the man do daily, as in terms of habits? How does that individual think? What does or what doesn't he tolerate from other people? And what things does he not tolerate in his life anymore? All right. So the gap from where we are now and the man that we're becoming to that we want to be is just a process of work, and it's essentially just crossing the bridge. And through a few habit changes or mentality shifts, you can essentially cross that bridge and become that person. So as we can see here, the infamous Andrew Tate, absolute fucking G. As we can see, this is the new version of ourselves. So it's the one that goes to the gym. We've been analysing, it's the one that goes to the gym. He's very confident with himself. He walks like he's the G. He can speak well because he's been able to practice the way he speaks. He's motivated because he wants to achieve his goals. He has a sense of purpose of where he wants to be. He's constantly eating healthy because he realises that his body is his temple. So he doesn't fill his body full of fucking absolute shit. Smoking or doing drugs, that sort of thing. And he's a strong individual, strong mind, strong willed, and strong with everything else in his life. Okay, so that process of self-analysis Where we are now, the habits you want to remove or your habits you want to adopt, they become the new version of yourself. It's a process of shifting paradigms. You want to get from A to B. This individual now to that individual who's the absolute fucking G. Right. This process is implementation. So the first one I want to go over is habit swapping. Right. This is incredibly important. You have to shift and switch your habits. Now, you must remember that when we reinvent ourselves, it's basically a process of phase shifting from who you are now and shifting into that person you want to be. So potentially taking off a pair of shoes, going into another pair of shoes. All right. So what we need to do is identify the habits that we need to avoid or completely eradicate and identify the habits that we want to adopt. Okay. So make sure you've got a pen with this one because you need to be writing this down. So I'm going to give examples. So for example, scrolling, we're going to completely get rid of that shit. I'm going to replace it with reading or learning or improving. Overthinking, which is a common one which leads to procrastination. We're going to overcome that by doing problem solving. So identifying problems in your life, creating plans and attacking those plans to fulfill that goal. We're going to completely eradicate complaining because complaining itself is low vibrational thinking, and we'll replace complaining with taking action. Okay. What we need to do as well, because I know a lot of people are on this vibe, and so many people in the 20s are on this, is the partying. We're going to replace that with training, building, and focusing. All the time just sitting on the couch, we're going to switch that and change that to working out and improving ourselves constantly. Now, when we do this, we must realize that every habit that we replace, in fact, shifts your identity, because we need to realize that our identity is built on our actions. If we change our actions, we essentially change the man that we are. So we need to start small, be consistent, stack those wins, because discipline is built through repetition. So stick with it and you'll be fine. We're swinging over here, which is visualization. Okay. Visualization is incredibly powerful. I use this day to day. So what I do is actually visualize the life that I want. So what I do is I've created my own dream life, and every single morning and every single evening before I go to bed, I visualize this dream life, what car I want to drive, how much money I want to be earning each month, what country I want to live in, what type of house I want, my day-to-day routine, everything. You have to visualize what it is you want, because I'm a firm believer what you put most of your attention onto, God has a funny way of aligning your life with said path. Now, have you had this weird experience where you focus on something negative and that negative thing happens? It's because you visualized it and attract it into your life. So you need to visualize a positive life for yourself, or the desired life you want, and eventually your life will transition and shift into said reality. Now, we must realize that visualization isn't, in fact, wishful thinking. It's just training the brain to recognize what you're working towards, which is very important. So you have to close your eyes, actually see what it is you're desiring for. Um, Whether or not it's the desired life, it's the body you're building, the life you want to live, the person you want to become. You need to visualize everything. When you visualize daily, you help align your mind and your body with the choices which align yourself with the future self, as I talked to you about previously. So we need to stop acting like pussies and actually transition and become bigger and better men in the day. Right, next we got on the list is energy. Whoa, key fucking energy. Man's got bad cheek, you feel me? Right. Now I want to zoom in to this little picture I've got here. Now, I'm a firm believer. This is just half of the energy that I talk about quite a bit. Is this energy, the energy that we reside in our body, has levels of frequency. Okay. Yeah, let me just get back onto it. Yeah, levels of frequency. What we need to do is harness all the negative and low vibrational thoughts and transcend them into the highest sacra. Okay, so let me get off that now and talk about some actual facts here. So we must realize that everything in this day and age is in fact energy. Who you're around, who you consume, who you're listening to, and what you believe about yourself has a vibrational sense of energy about it. Now, what we need to do, especially when it comes to ourselves and protecting ourselves from energy, is be conscious of the people that you're around. I always say to people, you are the sum of the five motherfuckers that you hang around with. So if you hang around with dickheads, bro, what does that make you? The next dickhead. If you hang around with successful mofos, what does that do? Makes you the next successful dude. So pattern up. It's all about what you consume as well. If I see you guys mindlessly scrolling on TikTok like some degenerates, you're gonna end up the next degenerate. All right? Don't be absolutely fucking stupid. What you listen to as well. So this is about music and things like that. So I have certain music for certain things. Now, when I'm driving down the road, I'll listen to a bit of ABBA, Gimme Gimme. It's got some bangers, gets me in a good, feel good feeling. But then on the other side of that, when I'm training, I'm listening to some killer music because it puts me in the mood. Now, we must realize that music has a level of vibration, and the low vibration of music has the ability to drop your vibration and make you fucking stupid. So stay away from that, okay? So we must remember that low energy environments create a low energy man. We must protect our energy absolutely ruthlessly. Spend more time around people that are oriented around growth, purpose, health, and discipline, and striving for ambition. When your energy elevates, your standards will elevate with it. So there's a whole full circle, guys. We've got to be absolutely on the ball with it. This is the most important. I'd say this is one of the most important ones personally. Right, coming over to this side here, which is practice. Practice makes perfection. There's a quote here by Benjamin Franklin. If you plan to fail, sorry, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Okay, so you must have a plan put in place. So practice here. Okay, so we must realize that practice is sorry, reinvention isn't just like a magical switch you can flick, which is on the wall, and then you're magicking a new person. It's practice. You don't become the new version of yourself in a day. You practice being him every single day, and it gets you closer and closer to that person. You must. Some days you'll win, some days you'll fall short, but you don't quit. You just keep showing up because repetition builds character, and that character builds your life. All right. I promise. If you put it into practice and you build it with repetition, you'll become that man you want. Okay. Now, I want to just go over some actionable things that you can implement to help improve your life. Okay. So what I want you to do is to go up here and do some complete brutal self-analysis of where you are. All right, be absolutely fucking ruthless. Because if you're not, you're going to be annoyed about yourself. And then I want you to create an archetype. This archetype is who you want to be. Now, it doesn't matter what you want this archetype to have. You want to keep this to yourself because this is a very personal practice. So you analyze where you are and then you create that archetype. Whether or not that archetype goes to the gym, whether or not that archetype is a fighter, whether or not that archetype likes to drive fancy cars, whatever it may be, create this archetype. Even if that archetype is a very, very well spoken person, you want to create this archetype. Then what you want to do is create a plan or create the habits that the individual has. Okay. For example, whether or not, as I said, he goes to the gym, he's practice speaking. Now, what you want to do is identify, okay, how can I implement these into my daily routine? You want to implement them or find time where you can actually improve and implement these because this will allow you to properly shift into that individual. All right. Now, what I want to make clear about as well is it's just a process of shifting perspective and shifting your paradigm. That's all it really is. If you're able to do so, you're going to severely help improve your life. Okay. Now, I want you to take this upgraded version of yourself into 2026. All right. This is the final day where you get to choose who you walk into the new year as. Okay. Not the tired version of yourself, not the distracted version of yourself, not the man who keeps saying, "Oh, maybe one day." Today is the day you become absolutely exceptional. Okay. Or you just admit, like, listen, I'm comfortable with my life, and you become a degenerate for the rest of your life. So today is the day you actually make a choice. Reinvention isn't luck, it's a choice. You must swap your habits, see the future before it exists through visualization, protect your energy at all costs because your life does fucking depend on it. Then show up every single day. What you must realize is no one else is going to help your ass. You have to show up for you, not only for you, but for your family, because it's not just you that depends on yourself, it's other people. So you have to be putting in work. 12 months from now, you're going to look back on this day and go, fucking hell, I'm so glad I put that fucking work in. You're either going to be stronger, smarter, more disciplined, everything that this archetype is that you built, or you're going to be the same motherfucking man you was today. So don't don't make promises you're not willing to fulfill, and keep to yourself. Make sure you invent someone that you're going to be proud of, and your family's going to be proud of. Right? So, guys, enjoy the new year. Please put the fucking work in for this year, and go and reinvent yourself. Take care.